What's up, guys? It's Jay for Average J Poker. This is my first video ever, so pretty excited about it. I wanted to create something to talk to the lower level poker players out there, because we're not all sitting at the 510 at the Bellagio with the other professionals. So playing down here at the 1325 tables is a different world. So I want to talk about some interesting hands uh, that maybe you don't get from watching like Andrew Nemi, Brad Owen, Doug Polk, stuff like that. Because up at that level, those guys know what they're doing, and the opponents that they're playing with know what they're doing. But down here, it's a little different. You get some weird stuff, some weird situations, and I wanted to start this to talk about that. Talk to what you guys are doing, seeing out there, what I'm seeing, and maybe you guys make me a little bit better player, and hopefully I can make you guys a little bit better player too. So yeah, let's go. What I want to do with this is mainly talk about poker hands. Uh, so this will be my first one I ever talk about here. So let's get into it here. So this is a hand that I played the other night. I recorded this because I thought it was just an interesting hand. So starts out pretty standard. I've got about 350 in front of me. The other two players have roughly 200 that are going to be involved in this hand. It comes around to me. I make it my standard $10 raise. I try to keep my raises pretty standard, whether I have aces or whether I've got 6, 7 suited. I try to keep it standard so nobody can really pick up on the strength of my hand. So I make it my standard 10. The lady right to my left calls. She's an older lady, maybe 55 plus, plays pretty standard ABC poker. But the guy in early position there is a younger guy. I just met him tonight, and he's splashing around quite often, so I fully expected him to call, and he does. All right, so now we're going to see a flop. The flop comes 5-5-6. Good flop for jacks. But this is where the hand gets a little interesting here. The guy in first position there he go ahead and leads out, which I found really weird. I don't know when you should ever be leading out here in his spot. Uh, Even if he has pocket fives, he should be checking. Any kind of draw, he should be checking. A six, he should be checking. So this is kind of the stuff that you see down here. He went ahead and let out about $20 here. So that puts me to a decision. I was thrown off by it, so I'm thinking for a second. Do I raise? Do I call? So I want to keep him firing. So that's why I just end up electing to call the $20 here. But then it gets a little more interesting when the lady to my left, who I said plays pretty ABC, calls also. Uh, so that threw up some red flags. Okay, she's at least got a piece of this, a six, maybe a pair. I don't think she just calls with a person like that who's playing tight. If she did have a five here, I don't think she just makes the call. I think we hear from her here. Uh, I don't think she's capable of slow playing. So I don't put her on a five, but she also makes the call. So then we go to the turn with a pot around 105. Turn cards, three of clubs. Uh, this time the guy first to act checks it. So because he got the two callers behind, he's probably not as comfortable anymore with his hand. The only draw that got there is 4-7. I mean, that's definitely in the guy in first act's range. But even if he had that, and he led the flop, he's definitely leading once he made his hand. Uh, so I don't know what to do here, honestly. Uh, do I bet? Do I check? I really think I could get most of the guys stack in position one here, because he views me as kind of a aggressive player. the type that's capable of bluffing, which I am. He's not wrong. So I think he's got a piece of this, most likely a 6, and I think I can get all his stack if I kind of slow play this. So I like to check. I don't know if that's the best thing in the world to do, especially with the player on my left too. But she checks also. So it actually checks through on the turn. That's probably not the best play in the world. I probably should have tried to build a little bit bigger of a pot. But again, I want to keep that guy firing. That was my mentality at the time, but now that I'm looking back at it, I probably regret that play. All right, but we're off to a river card after it checks through, and it's the 5 of spades. So super interesting card there. So, any 6 is a full house, any pair is a full house now. So that negates any kind of 4-7 that would have out there, but I didn't think that was out there. So the guy first act that I wanted to keep firing does do so, right? So we got our wish there, and he fires $40 into this thing. So now the pot's about 145. I've got about 250-ish left, 200 left, and I'm trying to think how I get the most money here. So I'm pretty sure I have the best hand. I'm pretty sure the lady playing behind me in ABC Poker, we would have heard from her at this point if she had a 5 or even Queens, King, Aces. So I'm pretty sure I have the best hand. I just need to get the most money. So I want to play that image that the one seat has of me, that I am capable of bluffing, and I elect to go all in here. So I way over bet the pot. I go all in for roughly 250 over his $40 bet. The lady behind me kind of groans a little bit, and she ends up laying her hand down. And the guy in the one seat, he starts talking to himself. He he doesn't know what to do, but he ends up electing to call, and we do end up seeing these hands and taking this one in. So he ended up having King 6, so he had the 5s full of 6s, full house there, and the lady behind me had pocket 7s for the 5s full of 7s. But we take this one down. Just an interesting play from the early position there. And on the river, I thought I was able to get more value just playing off my image at the table of being a more looser player, a player who's capable of making bluffs, which can get you paid in some of these circumstances, but it will get you snapped off in other ones. So that worked out in our favor. So we'll go over one more hand here. This was also an interesting hand. So the situation for this one is it's later in the night. Some players are starting to go home. So the action is starting to get pushed a little bit, which is going to help us out in this hand. So players are calling with weak hands, raising with weak hands, wanting to catch their gut shots on the river. You'll see this a lot from basically undisciplined players, which, hey, I've fallen into that trap too. Because the night's ending, I'm stuck. I want to get it back maybe it's worth hitting that gut shot, but I try not to. But I definitely fall into that trap. So that's the situation we're in here. There's only maybe 5 or 6 players at the table at this point. Everybody's kind of saying, oh, they're racking up. So it comes to me. Well, in this hand, the button had actually straddled $15. So it comes to me, and I get ace king suited just by the grace of the poker gods. So I go ahead and make it 60, and the button calls 60. Okay, pretty standard pre. So the flop comes down, king, deuce, deuce. All right, so we spiked our king. So on this hand, what I found interesting is bet sizing. So I thought I was able to use good sizing in this to get my max value out of this. So what I do here is I raise 60 pre, so the pot's about 135. I only bet $40 right now, because I have a strong hand, but I want to kind of show that I'm weak. I'm just trying to put something out there. Hopefully he folds all his 8-9 suited hands and stuff like that. But he calls the 40, right? So then we're off to see a turn card. 5 of hearts, good turn card. The only thing I'm really scared about is the club draw. So after that weak lead of 40, should pot's about $215. All right, so now I want to change up my bet sizing again. So now I bet about half pot. I put in $100 bet just to say, hey, I'm more stubborn now. I want you to fold this hand. I put in $100 bet. So he reads that. That's what I want him to read that as. And sure enough, he does. He's thinking about it for a while, and he ends up shipping his stack all in. He's got about 400-ish left behind, ships it all in. There's nothing I could do here besides call. River's inconsequential 9 of diamonds, but he ends up flipping over pocket sixes. He just did not believe we had the king there or any kind of overpair. He was just playing on that late night, thinking I was pushing him around with any cards, which sometimes I would do. But not this time. I think that bet sizing of $40 on the turn there, down bet, that's what made me that money in that hand. I was showing weakness, and that got in his head, and he thought, he would blow me off of any kind of 10 jack hand, ace queen hand, something like that with the all-in bet. But just unlucky for him. I did have the goods that time, and we scooped that one in toward the end of the night. So there's a couple hands right there that I wanted to go over. I'll be making some more of these with some more interesting spots as I come up on them. But feel free to get in contact with me on how I could have done this better, because I'm definitely sure there are ways I could have done this better. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. So this is Average J. Until the next time.